everybody, I'm Jacob Kringstead, the Vice President of Safety Pole. Welcome to episode 2 of Behind the Scenes of STP Manufacturing. This month I want to talk about trade shows and how much I love them, I guess. They're a necessary evil, so it's definitely a love-hate relationship. It's definitely necessary because it's a very vital part of how we make sales, but it's also evil because it is a lot of work and it takes a lot of energy, and there's always some kind of hiccups along the way, which I will be showing some video of. But again, they're great for us. We sell actually a lot of equipment right at the show. I think to get those customers to do a hands-on experience with our product is huge for us. So we're going to keep doing them, but they take a lot out of us. We do about 12 to 15 shows a year. That's scaled back quite a bit. We used to do quite a bit more, but we kind of refined what shows we had success at, and then also just kind of honed in on those ones and then put a little more energy, a little more boost space to that, and that's been a good fit for us. 12 to 15 is still a lot of shows to do. I mean, you could do a trade show every day if you wanted, but it's just the amount of effort it takes to get there is a lot, a very lot. So every show has a little hiccup, it seems like. Good example would be this year at the United States Custom Harvesters event. Show went well, everything was good. Going to ship the machine out, and the truck driver decided to drive for a sinkhole.
Good old truck driver here forgot to lock up his trailer brakes. Damn near lost the cart. Driver man decided to drive into a mud hole. This isn't good. He's decided to bury it. It's hooked around just the chintziest aluminum thing you've ever seen. And he's thinking that it's gonna hold up. And we're using chain because we already shipped all our slingshots on. You know, standard. I'll be damned. Oh boy. Oh boy.
And he sat there for 4 days, and it was over Super Bowl weekend, so we had to wait for a wrecker. We tried our best to get him out, but that wasn't happening. So it just seems like every show has a quirk, and that was that. The International Crop Expo also had one. They had a piece of equipment that tried to fit through a door that was quite a bit narrower than the equipment, and it just seems like there's always something at trade shows. So as far as setup goes for these trade shows, the bigger equipment, we really got to get in there maybe 2 or even 3 days early before the show and kind of set our machines up. And then we also got to hand wash everything. You have a pressure washer to take the snow and salt off, but you actually got to go through and hand wipe down everything. So the closer shows, we'll send 3 to 4 guys out, and they'll spend a day, maybe even 2 days wiping down equipment. So there's a lot of money and time that go into it, and then also lost production. If you got 4 or 5 guys that fly to the show, a crew of 18, that's a pretty good chunk of labor that's dallying around at the show. One more thing I want to talk about would be the United States Custom Harvesters show. This year was in Hot Springs, Arkansas. It's a traveling show. It's by far my favorite show. The layout's really nice. The way they put it on is really well organized. They have lunch and dinner that is sponsored by a platinum sponsor, so they'll take an hour and talk to you and then also feed you. It's just a great layout. It's also, you got to be a member to be a part of the show, so it kind of cuts through the general public, and then everybody you talk to is a qualified buyer. Been there in the past. We brought just our safety pole and our slingshot product lines. This year we brought a cop shuttle. We're kind of targeting the corn salad guys more so than the custom grain cutters, but also our strong box trailer is actually a pretty darn good fit for it as well. So we had a great show. Oh boy, it was a lot of interest, but it's a pretty new product, so I think it's going to take a couple of years, obviously, once we plant that seed to get in front of some people. But again, it's by far my favorite show. A lot of people think with how much travel I do on the road that we got all sorts of free time and get to see some cool sights. That is true to some extent. I think in 2019 I was on the road somewhere about 130 days. But that being said, normally when we fly into somewhere, it's an agricultural hub. It's not really a destination place or a tourist stop, I guess. So we're big on historical sites, museums. I kind of like to do those types of things. When we were in Hot Springs, Arkansas this past week, we got to go travel and see the Junction Bridge, which was an old rail bridge that they actually converted into a pedestrian bridge now. We're kind of those nerds that walk around and look at the manufacturing process of how things were built. You can tell on this bridge, by the flame cuts. A lot of it was hand cut and then obviously riveted. There really wasn't welding technology back then. So it's kind of neat to see the old town of places. Like I said, we don't really have too much time. Typically it's hurry up, get to the farm, do your job, and fly out the same day or 2-3 days later, but there's never really too much free time. But when we do, we like to make a couple stops if possible. Obviously, when we fly to some destinations, say California for instance, there's obviously all sorts of different things to go look at. In particular, one of my favorite places to go is Lake Isabella up in Kern County. This particular waterway is used for agricultural water, hydroelectric, and then also flood control obviously. And then with the big dam up at Lake Isabella, they have quite a bit of recreation. So there's a lot of boats on the water, plus they do whitewater rafting and stuff down the rapids. So it's kind of neat to get out and see some of that stuff. Past couple of years I've been privileged enough to travel with my father over to China for some projects. Even when we go over there's really not too much time for anything extra. We didn't really get to go see the Great Wall of China or tour Beijing or Harbin or anything like that, but we did get to go through 4 or 5 manufacturing plants. Kevin was kind enough to take us around and see how other things are built in other countries, which I found absolutely fascinating. We went through a machine shop where they're building hubs and bearings, and it's really neat to see how it's done over there. Labor is way cheaper obviously, so there's a lot of manual things where we try to automate everything over here. So just to go over and walk through other facilities and to see how everything else is manufactured over there was absolutely, that to me is better than going to the tourist towns and doing the touristy things. So to me that's the best part of it. Being it's February, we're getting a little bit closer to planting here, so we got a couple 4 or 5 machines that are going to be running planting this year. So those machines, the frames are done, the hoppers are rolling back from paint, so they'll get assembled, and then they'll get mounted up to the frames here pretty quick. We're pulling plastic liner in it now, doing the decals and wiring schematics. So as we get a little closer here, these will become a little more complete. Maybe the next episode we'll see a couple getting completed, but yeah, iron's definitely pumping through, and believe it or not, spring is right around the corner. We're also trying to boost our safety pole inventory a little bit. We've got quite a bit of truck hitches moving here in the off season. People are starting to think about spring now that it's getting a little bit lighter outside, a little longer, so there's quite a bit of hitches being shipped as well, so we're trying to boost that inventory. You can see we're trying to get a little more efficient, put stuff away. The trailer on the right there, that's actually just a different company we own, Kingston Graphics, doing a trailer wrap in this bay at this time. But all the plastic in the background there with the new software, we're trying to get sorted out, get the high volume ones inside, documented, inventoried, and then put on a shelf. So that's what we're doing back in this room. One of the projects that we got going on in the shop is a rebuild. A customer pretty local to us brought their cart back into us, and we're doing some modifications to them to fit their farm better. I think that's one thing that we have over some of the maybe other manufacturers, is that we're pretty custom. There's no 2 farms that are the same, so most of our shuttles really aren't the same. We kind of got a base model, and then you can alter it from there. So this particular customer wanted to have a little bit higher seed loader on it, and then they wanted to plastic line everything. So we actually made the boom tins out of UHMW, and then we're actually lining the hopper walls as well. So this thing will have pretty much plastic throughout. So I think that's what really sets us apart, is the level of customization that we can do for the customer, and I think that's what really helps us sell our machine, and then yeah, it really sets us apart from everybody, I guess. Episode 3 I think I'm going to do on how belted chain is made. So I contacted Knopfsinger, pretty good friends with them. We're going to fly out to Greeley, Colorado and go through their plant and show you how our boom webs are made. So hopefully we can see how they start with steel coil all the way down to riveting and belt cutting and all that good stuff. So hopefully we can get a pretty good video there. And then also, again, at the back half of that video, I'll show you what's going on in the shop that month. With that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe to our page, and then also leave comments below about maybe what process you want to see more of, or maybe a good topic that we should talk about. Thanks for watching, and see you in episode 3.